Good evening. Thank you for attending the October 17th school board meeting. Before we get started, we're going to start with a prayer. Mr. Lamb, if you'd like to join us.
Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the safe return of our students and staff from fall break. We pray that all had a time to enjoy their family and have time to recharge as we look forward to finishing the remainder of this semester. We ask that you watch over this meeting and the good people who have joined us tonight. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and the first thing we're going to start with is recognitions. And as a courtesy to everybody that's getting a recognition, after you've gotten yours, if you'll just wait for everybody to be done before we exit, there will be a time afterwards. So, thank you.
Should be. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. As President Ott mentioned, it's a tradition for us to begin our meetings with recognition for students and for faculty and staff. So we will begin with our students, and we normally align our recognition with our guiding principles. And so the two we will highlight this evening are individual student growth and then collaboration. So we will begin with individual student growth. If Jaden Crisafulli could please come forward. Jaden Crisafulli was honored last week at the Indiana State House for his accomplishments as an Eagle Scout. Jaden built an elevated sandbox with benches for Union Elementary so that our students could play without getting dirty and so that children with disabilities could play equally with their peers. The sandbox also has a locking lid to keep rain and debris and animals out. Jaden passed the review board interview and is now an official Eagle Scout. Please join me in congratulating Jaden Crisafulli.
If you'll please introduce anyone that's with you, and then also talk a little bit about the project, how you came up with the idea. Dr. Worland kind of shared what the project looks like and feels like at Union, but tell us how you came up with the idea.
So I came with my great parents, Nick and Susan Crisafulli. So basically, I go down to my grandparents' house every summer in South Carolina, and at this one elementary school for special needs children, there was a stand-up sandbox. And so the inspiration for my project came from that.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. And now's a great photo op. What are your future plans? I forgot to ask. Where are you headed next year?
I haven't really decided yet, but I have applied to colleges, and it's an exciting process.
Well, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Well done. Thank you. Okay.
Congratulations. Richie Scott, if you could please come forward. International Junior Black Belt of the Year. Sophomore Richie Scott was nominated by his master instructor, Rose Myers, for Regional Junior Black Belt of the Year and won. He just went on to win then the International Junior Black Belt of the Year at an awards ceremony held in July in Phoenix, Arizona. Not only is Richie active in Taekwondo, he's heavily involved at Franklin Community Schools in baseball and basketball and in raising money for needs in the community. Please join me in congratulating Richie Scott.
That's great with your honor, but talk to us about being a black belt. What does it mean? How did you get there? And then also please introduce anyone that's with you tonight.
I was brought here by my mom and dad. My master instructor is also here. She has been my instructor for 8 years now. And I started Taekwondo in 2nd grade at Creekside Elementary. Mr. Myers came and demonstrated, and I just fell in love with the sport. It's taken time out of seeing people, because traveling to do tournaments and stuff just takes a lot out of you. So.
What is it? What do you do in the tournament? Is it competition with somebody else, or how do you win your tournaments?
It is a competition between a group of people. You get put into rings, and it's decided by your rank and your height. so you don't have to like have a 6-foot kid against a 4'11". It's a little fair. And then we have traditional forms, which have been created for a lot of years, and then there's traditional weapons that black belts have a specific form to do. Color belts can create a form. And then we do combat sparring, which is sparring with a padded stick, and then traditional sparring where you're just punching and kicking people.
And which one do you enjoy the most?
Traditional sparring.
All right. Well, Mr. Sprout's going to come up and be your partner. Congratulations. What a great honor. So. We'll get a picture here.
Our Central 9 Students of the Month for October, if Corbin Ferguson and Bennett Gieske please come forward. Congratulations to our October Central 9 Students of the Month. Corbin Ferguson received this honor in HVAC, and Bennett Gieske in construction trades. Please join me in congratulating Bennett, do I have it right? Bennett Gieske.
Talk about your program and how did you receive the honor of being Student of the Month?
So I'm in construction trades. I'm a second-year student, and in the class we've built a house. We are building it by the Greenwood High School right now, and we've been building it for 2 years, and it's going to go hopefully on the market. And it's just a great opportunity for us to be able to, not only if we don't go into the construction, but we get to take these skills on and use it later on in life. If I need to learn how to fix my walls, I know how to do that now, and if I have to reroute any electrical, I know how to do that too. So it's a great opportunity to have. I'm definitely happy to be able to go here. So.
And are you planning to go into construction trades? You going to go on to college? What's the future hold for you?
That's tough. So I really want to. I've applied to a couple of colleges for Vincent's and Ivy Tech for their construction, but I don't know if I want to do that yet or if I want to go straight into the workforce for construction. So.
That's great. Well, congratulations on this honor. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and we want to celebrate with you.
Bennett, do you have a sign-up sheet out front where I can sign up for things? You mentioned walls and fixing things in your house, right? All right, Mr. Wagner.
All right, here we go. Next up on our list, we've got a kid that knows how to play baseball. His name is Max Clark. And for the second year in a row, he was named the 2021-2022 Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year in the state of Indiana. He also played in the U18 World Baseball Cup this summer. And what did you win there? The gold medal. Let's go, USA! Come on up, Max.
You know, I know you've received a lot of accolades, but this is the one you really want. I know. Dr. Clinton thinks I'm sharp. That's the one you really want, right? Congratulations. It's a great honor to have you with us and participate. Talk a little bit about your experience this summer. I know you've had a lot of chance to travel, but talk about what it was like to go to Florida and compete against the kids across the world.
Yeah, going against the top players across the entire globe was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life. It's not every day that you show up and you play a team that their discipline is so insane that they're actually stepping on the same foot as everyone else in on their team. It was one of the coolest experiences, and I've been dreaming about it literally since I've been 12 years old. And there is honestly nothing better than standing on a podium and having a gold medal put around your neck while you're listening to your national anthem in front of 15,000 fans. It was a very, very special feeling for me, especially knowing how hard I've worked to get to this point. But it was a true blessing, and it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life.
Congratulations. I received a text from Dr. Koopman, who used to be Clark Pleasant superintendent, and then he was superintendent, executive director for the state. And he texted me, he says, hey, I'm down in Florida, and he actually came to one of your games, and then he saw you do one of your interviews. He said, man, you guys ought to be really proud of Max. And so I know the whole community shows a lot with you, but we are proud that you're one of our students and things you're doing. And best of luck in the future. It's going to be great to watch and see where it leads you. So, well done. Back up here and get a picture.
Before we transition to the faculty staff side, let's give another round of applause for the coaches, for the master, Rose Myers, who's with her student here this evening, the teachers, parents, grandparents. It takes a community for many of us to succeed. And let's just give all of yourselves a round of applause and just thank you so much. If your family's with you, thank them for their support. And now our final recognition this evening, if Tony Harris could please come forward. We are pleased to announce that Tony Harris was named a Certified Athletic Administrator by the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. To earn this distinction, Tony demonstrated the highest level of knowledge and expertise in the field of interscholastic athletic administration. This was a voluntary certification process that included a thorough evaluation of the candidate's educational background, experience, and professional contributions, as well as a rigorous, comprehensive written examination. Tony is one of an elite group nationwide to attain this level of professionalism. Please join me in congratulating our athletic director at the middle level, Tony Harris.
The National Athletic Association for Athletic Directors puts on course after course after course, and I got involved through Mr. Doty, who got me started on it, and I attained my RRA a couple years ago, and I wanted to go after the next level, and 10 more courses and a test, and here I am.
Congratulations. It's a very small group that finished, and we're honored that you're part of and helping lead us, and it does fit well with our guiding principle of systemic improvement, so well done. Appreciate it. Yeah. We got one more picture. All right, that will conclude the recognition portion of the school board meeting. And as President Ott said, this is a good time if you don't want to stick around for the rest of the meeting. It's a good time to leave. But we do have one more student presentation coming up under superintendents. We're going to talk about traveling abroad. And so if you want to hear what we're doing at our students, and Abby Demery is going to share a little bit of experience where she went to Europe and traveled. So it might be worth sticking around for.
Okay, we will move on with the rest of the business portion of the meeting, and we're going to start with the consent agenda. Do we have any public comments? Okay, thank you.
Can I make a comment, Mrs. Dobby, before we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Becky Oakes, who was once on the school board, passed away
Oh,
a couple weeks ago, and she was a wonderful lady. Her kids were in school with me, and so I just want to acknowledge her passing and send well wishes to Rachel and Kyle and Michael Oakes and their whole family, because she was special and mattered a great deal to a lot of people.
okay, thank you. I'm sorry to hear that. Do we have any other comments from the board on the consent agenda? Administration comments? No? Okay. Could I have a motion?
We do have one. We have a bus driver that's retiring after 20 years. Karen Riker will be leaving us. So we want to say thank you to Karen for her years of service and best wishes in her future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on that, do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, on that, Mr. Wertz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy? Ryan?
Yes.
All right, and I vote yes, so that motion passes. All right, we will move on to the superintendent reports. The first one being the IU Honors Foreign Language.
Thank you. Well, as I said just a few minutes ago, we are pleased to have one of our students travel to Europe this past year and be a part of the IU's honors program. And I've been able to experience it from the dad's side of life, when one of my sons actually went and did the same program as Abby. So we've asked Abby to come in and talk just a little bit about her program. So Abby, if you want to come up to the podium, and then her teacher in our school district, Mr. Maxwell, was also one of the sponsors, and he's going to come up and talk from the teacher side of what it's like to travel abroad. So congratulations, Abby. We're so honored to hear you talk a little bit about tonight. There's a microphone right by the podium, if you'll, yep.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I went to France this summer for 6 weeks through IU's program. It was exciting. I started the process with Madame Karlstrand, our former French teacher here. She was talking to me about it actually like my 8th grade year of middle school, and I thought I would never do that. She was like, this is a really serious program. You've got to sign in blood that you're not going to speak English while you're there. And I was like, oh, I can never do that. And then, as the years went on, she kind of like put the little bug in my ear and kept mentioning it over and over again. And then finally it came time to apply, and she was like, so you're going to do it? And I was like, I guess I'll apply. I don't know if I'll get in. And then I did, which was really exciting. I got my site placement in my host family, and yeah.
So a couple of questions I have for you, then we'll ask the board. Did you ever find a time when you were over in France that you were just dreaming in French as
Yes.
well?
Yeah.
I remember my son talking about that,
Yeah.
And then when you came home, did you find it hard to switch back to English?
Yeah. We were like in the airport, and our instructors finally, I don't know if he was with us. No, you already broke off at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. But we were in the airport, and we were about to go through security, and they were like, okay, you can speak in English again. And we were having such like a hard time trying to speak in English, like to these people who were asking us, did you bring anything illegal into the country? And we were like, no.
And then part of the program, the foundation, the FEC, has a sponsorship program, and Abby is actually the first recipient of the scholarship. So there is a cost. I believe it's about $4,500. Is that correct? What is the cost for the program this year?
I think this year the cost was a little more than $6,000.
$6,000.
Yeah.
So Abby received a scholarship to help offset that, and that's part of the Franklin Education Connection, and it's still available. So we want to definitely make sure kids are aware of that. And it's great to have you as the first recipient as we talk to people.
It was definitely a big deciding factor because it's definitely a big financial burden having that much, but it was such an amazing opportunity, and having that scholarship was really helpful.
Yeah. And what do you want to do in the future?
Great question. I'll go to college for, right now I'm thinking psychology and then later neuroscience, and French too, obviously.
Are you going to study French?
Yeah.
Yep. So congratulations. Thank you for going and being that pioneer. I know we've had some other kids in the past, but we really want to see more kids travel. Part of our strategic plan is to connect the world and let the kids see that it really is a pretty small place. And so thank you for doing that. And Mr. Maxwell, I know you're one of the professors that travel with the students. Talk about that.
Yep. So this year I was their professor in linguistics. So I taught linguistics classes every day to the 24 students. In addition to that, one of my roles was also the PR coordinator. So I worked with local press to alert them to events and certain community engagement activities we did. They have several. The program has several pillars that they focus on, basically core values, and one of them is community engagement or volunteerism. And so 2 or 3 activities each site does. We did a park cleanup. We volunteered at a local refuge, and then we had it was community engagement. This third one was meeting the mayor and kind of interacting with some of the city higher-ups, which was a pretty cool experience as well. So as PR coordinator, I helped coordinate those events. I also maintained close relationships with host families. There is a lot that goes into that. And finally, I did keep a blog, which I sent to Dr. Clendenning. I sent you a link if anyone is interested in checking that out. Kind of shows history basically of the trip, the various excursions we went on, the activities we did, things of that nature. So it's kind of a daunting program for most students. They don't have access to their cell phones after we land. We take those and lock them up for the duration of the summer. They get those lovely flip phones from, like early 2000 area. And they are that old, I can assure you. I was actually a student in this program in 2014. And in this site as well, and they are the same phones that we used in 2014, so that should tell you something. So, but it's an awesome experience for the students to be immersed in the language and speak it and interact with the host families and the culture and everything that entails. So truly a wonderful experience, and I encourage anyone in the modern language department, anyone who is taking a modern language, to pursue those opportunities.
So Abby, you got a host family as well?
Yeah.
Did they have other students with you, or were you by yourself?
I had one host sister. Her name is Hannah. She was really sweet, but I was just like so blessed to get Beatrice, because she's such a kind and sweet lady, and she was so willing to just work with us. Because the first few nights it was like, I don't know what you're saying, and she was just so patient, and yeah.
Well, I can tell you from a dad's side of life, my son still keeps up with his host family. He traveled to Europe recently, and he met with them after all those years. So that was pretty cool. So just continue those relationships, and I just want to say thank you again for being a pioneer. It's great to have kids that go out and take a risk. And I know that probably get on that airplane, you're thinking, I'm not going to speak English for the next 8 weeks, and I'm homesick, and how do I tell people that? But well done. Congratulations. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Do you have any questions?
No.
I'm just very impressed.
Yep.
Good job. Okay, so after that, we will have the corporation financial report. I'm so sorry. Tina, you bless your heart. You follow.
Yep. How can I follow that?
Yeah.
Well, you could do it in French.
There we go.
Hey, Abby, will you stay and speak French and go
Would
through
you
our
translate
financial report?
That would be much more interesting.
Poor Tina.
All right. Well, you haven't had a financial report in a while because it took me a minute to get everything straightened out on Forecast 5. So now you have it. First, you'll see a kind of a manual financial report as of September 30th. So we're at the end of the third quarter this year. And if you scroll down to the green line, that shows that at the 75% point in time, we've expended 66% of our budget. So we're doing great. You will see a few line items that are over that 75% mark. Most of those are because of salaries. And the reason is when we lock in that budget amount in August every year, we don't have all the information we need at the time. So as we receive more revenue from the state or more property taxes, we will tack on higher raises and adjust some of the positions like we did the bus drivers this year to remain competitive and make sure we're in that mid-range that we committed to for the referendum. We also have maintenance and operations. It's at 80%. That's pretty typical with all the repairs and maintenance that we have. Hopefully, the bond issuance will allow us to make those upgrades that we can reduce that cost. idea of those accounts. The building treasurer report directly to the principals, but I also have a staff member that oversees those building treasurers. So just want you to be aware of the whole financial picture. We have the colorful graphs from the forecast 5 system. The monthly expenditure overview, if you look at that, the top left-hand box, our total year-to-date expenses are about $46.7 million. And if we keep spending at the same pace, we'll end the year about $850,000 less than what we budgeted. So if you follow those boxes across, the only unfavorable that we have is year-to-date purchase services, and that is from the increases in C9 and Earlywood that we talked about before. So we're in good shape there. The next report, I usually focus on the box on the left. So the total revenue, as you can see, it has increased by about 4% this year compared to last year. Our expenditures have increased almost 10% in comparison to last year. A lot of that, again, is because of the salary increases that we've approved. Again, the purchase services and the increases with Earlywood and C9. And then if you look at the supplies line item, it looks like we've gone from 4 million to 5 million there, and almost a 24% increase. That's something that I'm going to dig a little deeper into. I'm not quite sure why that number is so much higher. I know that we stocked up on a lot during COVID, so that could be some of it, but I'm not sure that that's $1 million worth. So I'll look into that a little deeper and report back. And then you can see the very bottom line, and you can see the fund balances at the end of September in each of the funds. All right, and then the last one is the cash flow projection. So the numbers to focus on are the very top left-hand corner. Our beginning cash balance in January was about $13.4 million. And then the bottom right-hand corner shows our projected year-end will be $11.3 million. So that is a decrease of $1.6 million, and $1.2 million of that is our reduction in debt service. So for most accounts, we're going to be fairly level, but we're spending down the debt service as we intended to. All right, any questions? Are you asleep?
Nope, we're awake.
I'm definitely not.
We're here. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to the action items. Do we have any public comments on any action items? Okay, thank you. Then next up is the 2023 budget.
Okay, final approval on the 2023 budget. Nothing has changed since the public hearing in September. I'll just remind you that even though we're asking for a tax rate of $2.19, my prediction is that we'll get approved for about $1.62, and that is about 6 cents less than our approved tax rate for 22.
Any questions?
Any questions on that?
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian, how do you vote?
Approve.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes. Thank you. Okay, the next thing is the Endres Hauser International Student Trip.
Yes, thank you, President Ott. Last month, we got to hear about a proposal to have our kids go over spring break to Germany, Switzerland, and France. This week-long experience would be similar to what we do with Coogee. The projected cost right now is about $2,500, and if it were without gifts from the community, we're looking to bring that down. But we're asking for approval tonight so that we can begin that process. There'll be a parent call-out meeting in a couple days to get a feel how many students. We'd like to take 10 students with chaperones as well. And we would travel from Indy to Paris, spend a few days in Paris, about 18 hours in Paris actually, and then take a train from Paris into Basel, which is the headquarters of where Indershauser is going to be. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we would experience kind of the career side. What's it like to work in Indershauser? They have several plants in that area. We would then do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to see the school government side of life. And then in the end of the week, we would travel to the Black Forest and see Ludwig's Castle, which is, if everybody, that's the one that's Cinderella's castle in Disney World. It's actually the one that was modeled after. So we would spend time in the Black Forest and then fly out of Munich to come home on late Saturday or Sunday. The kids, we're looking at a very similar experience where they would stay either with host parents or they would stay in a hotel with chaperones that would cover that. We would have teachers and administrators from our school, as well as representatives from Indershauser here to be host over there. So Nicole Oddie is one of the lead people, and remember she was a director of C9. She's now in the position of career leadership for Indershauser, and she's helping orchestrate this as well. And it's a partnership with the Education Foundation.
Any questions?
Great opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's really great that we're able to do that. Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian, how do you vote?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I'm starting over
My
here.
bad.
Hey, are you
Brian.
stepping on my vote?
Sorry, sir.
Yes, I do approve.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Becky.
Yes.
Andy?
I approve.
Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes, so that motion passes. That will
Thank
be
you
a
very
fun
much.
trip for everybody. Okay, next is the policies, the second reading. Do we have, who's?
Yes, policy, nothing has changed since we met last month. We were asking to approve policy 04213 all the way down to 9150.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move for approval.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes as well. Very good. Okay. And then the next item is the resolution for determination of projects. And I don't know who's going to do that.
I can present those.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Tonight, you have before you actually 3 resolutions, all in connection with the upcoming projects that Jeff and the other administration has informed you about. The various maintenance and repair issues, estimated cost totaling a little over $17 million. So your first resolution is one that determines the need for the project. That has actually, in a sense, been determined at a prior meeting, but this resolution further goes on to provide that the project will be accomplished with the aid of a building corporation. And essentially, the multi-school building corporation will acquire the real estate, will acquire some real estate upon which the project is to be completed, and lease that real estate back to the school corporation. School corporation will pay lease rentals semi-annually. Those lease rental payments will be utilized by the building corporation to pay off the bonds. It may seem like a Rube Goldberg way of doing things, but it is required due to the constitutional prohibition against political subdivisions going into debt more than 2% of its assessed value. So while it may seem a little cumbersome and redundant, it's just the way these things have to be financed given the constitutional limitations. So that is your first resolution determining the need for the project and the need for assistance from the Building Corporation to accomplish that.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any questions? Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Brian, how do you vote?
I approve.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes. Okay. So we can move on to the next step.
Yes, ma'am. The next resolution then addresses the form of the lease. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a lease agreement entered into between the Building Corporation and the School Corporation, leasing real estate back to the school. What you have before you is simply the form of the lease. It does not include all of the details, the important details, like how much. Those are being worked out with our financial advisors, bond counsel, and myself. Approving this resolution will then trigger a public hearing to occur on the lease. That public hearing would occur on November 14th at your next board meeting. At that meeting, precise information will be provided to the public and you concerning the amount of lease rentals, likely interest rate that's going to be on the bonds that are sold, and the term of the lease. Again, this resolution is simply approving the form of the lease. It's a necessary step to move forward to the public hearing on the actual completed lease.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion passes. So we'll move on to the very last resolution.
Again, because the Building Corporation is going to be involved in these projects, it is necessary for the School Corporation, School Board, to reapprove the Building Corporation. The Multi-School Building Corporation is in existence, it's functioning, but each time it undertakes a new project, reapproval of that corporation is required by the school board.
All right, do we have any questions? Motion? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Sorry. Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion passes. Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to move on to our discussion items. The first one being the Social Studies PLC proposal.
Yes, thanks, President. Thank you, President Ott. The 8th grade Social Studies Department, and I just want to thank the board again for supporting the teaming structure at the middle school. I think part of that conversation, that interdisciplinary work, is the root of some of this motivation. So we have social studies teachers who are wanting to integrate storytelling and literacy into social studies, and storytelling is an effective way for us to provide instruction for students. And so they have brought forth a proposal for a novel to teach part of their standards connected to the Revolutionary War. And just so everyone knows, the board and parents, although the title of the book, My Brother Sam is Dead, it is not about death. It's not gruesome. I've talked at length with Mr. Schmidberger, Mr. Hukin, and Mrs. Holman, and have done some of my own research. The death of the brother is the motivation for the story. It's the brother who's trying to make sense of the revolution that is in play. And so they feel really good about this opportunity for students. I would like to ask, with the board's permission, or if you would welcome the opportunity to advance this to an action item, because they would like to go ahead and purchase the books in order to begin instruction to follow with their scope and sequence for November. I have spoken with Mrs. Holman. She is in full support. There will be no impact to families on textbook rental. This is not part of our normal adoption sequence. The department understands that. The cost is minimal because they will do classroom sets this first year as they use this resource as part of their curricula.
Great.
So per Dr. Worland's recommendation, I'd like to make a motion to move this to an action item.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that passes to an action item. So now we need a
Can
motion.
I ask a question? Is the reason we're talking about this one book because it wasn't part of the package that we did earlier?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now we need a motion to approve the purchase of these books for the classrooms, correct?
Do we need to open for public comment first?
I don't know, do we? Probably do, yes. So do we have any public comments on the new social studies books for 8th grade? I don't see any, so we'll move on then.
I move to approve.
Okay, second?
A second?
Okay, Brian, how do you vote? Becky?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that passes. So we'll.
Thank you, and we will not make a habit of this. I do apologize
Oh, that's
for this
okay.
exception. So thank you so much for
It adds some
entertaining this
excitement
request.
to the meeting.
Well, and I appreciate the faculty coming forward with
No
this
doubt.
innovative
Yeah,
idea. So
I think
I
it's
do commend their energy
It's
and
wonderful.
excitement. So thank you.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to move on to the FCHS Food Service Program Efficiency.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
So yes, quite a project here that I'm looking at doing. So a little bit of background, just very quickly. Obviously, equipment goes down and it needs replaced in kitchens, and that's pretty routine. So this particular piece of equipment, am I not? I sound loud. Is that better? Okay. So this particular piece of equipment that you'll see here in a moment is pretty antiquated and doesn't really serve the purpose that I would like it to serve in the dish room where it's located. So in order to kind of drive the program forward at the high school from a sustainability standpoint and be able to wash more than just trays, it needs to be replaced. We've got some great photos here and videos that will help kind of see what I'm talking about here. So the current process, so the high school actually has 2 dish rooms. It has a dish room in the kitchen where all the pots and the pans and the trays and everything, you know, for food service, that's all washed back in the actual kitchen. And then there's actually a tray room off of the cafeteria where the students, after they're finished eating, they put their trays up, and that's a whole separate room where currently the trays are being washed. And when we wash silverware, the silverware also gets, you know, accumulates there as well. However, there's not a spot for that to be washed in the tray room. So currently, if we are to move back to silverware now in a post-COVID era and start doing away with all the single-use plastics and forks and spoons and that type of thing, the current process to wash the silverware, if it's on the tray, the student puts it on the accumulator. So it collects, let's see, I think that maybe the video at the bottom, yeah. So the accumulator, you can see they're behind me, and there's the bus tub. So I'm walking, this is the actual process that the staff has to do multiple times in between lunches. Walks it through the cafeteria, through the actual kitchen. And we wanted to show the video to show the actual process of how long it takes. And also walking dirty silverware through a food service area, which I don't love. Okay, so now we've reached the door and we're going to go through the kitchen where there's a food preparation area. And take that silverware back to the dishwasher that's able to actually wash it and handle it. And here we are at the kitchen dish room. So once we arrive here, it gets dumped out of the bucket and back to that first picture there. So we dump it into that tray, spray it off. I think we're on the next slide now. It goes into the 3-compartment sink, moves along down the line, and then the bottom picture there, it goes actually through the dishwasher that's in the service area. And then the process you saw me walk, it needs to be walked back to the front where it's sorted into the knives, forks, spoons, and returned back to the students for the next round. So that's the current process to wash silverware in the dish room. So the current machine that is in that room, so you saw kind of the accumulator there at first where you pull the trays down off of. So there's a belt, and then it goes toward the tray washer, which is not a dishwasher, it's just a tray washer. This is the machine that is in that room currently. It only handles trays, and someone has to stand here at the end of the conveyor and literally feed one tray in at a time. And it washes down the entire line and then comes out at the end when it's finished, and that's the current process. So I would like to remove this machine and replace it with one that is an actual dishwasher and is actually able to wash not just trays, but forks, spoons, bowls, plates, and move the high school toward using those items. My first goal is to get those items on the salad bar so we can stop doing so many disposable. Not a fan of that, and so we need a dishwasher that's able to do that. So there's the unit right now that just does trays. I don't know if I have another slide. Is that it? We can, yeah. That's just the accumulator. So on the opposite side of that is is the opening where the students just walk up and put their tray in, and so it comes around just like so. And so the silverware, the bowls, or the plates would be on that, and there's the conveyor. So it takes one staff member to stand there and spray everything down and take the trays and take the silverware, and then it takes another one to just sit there and feed. So it's not a very great use of labor either. So my proposal is to take that unit out and put it in with a large capacity dishwasher that can handle more than just a tray.
Can I ask?
Yes.
So since this fancy high school's been built, they've been hauling dirty silverware like that, and someone has to take it and put it in that bucket?
Yes.
And was that like a design flaw that someone didn't think through, or how did we get here?
I think so. I'm not
Okay.
honestly sure. I believe that was in place. I think both of those units were in place prior to Jill, my predecessor. So I think this is quite an old. I had some really funny comments from the contractors coming in and taking a look at that piece of machinery what on earth is this? So I don't know. It was one of the first things when I saw it, I identified this has got to go. I don't know. It just really doesn't make sense from an operational standpoint.
Well, I'm sorry to you and all the food service people that have had to deal with that for 15 years. I'm annoyed watching it. I'm kind of getting my blood pressures up.
It's
so you
not
deal with it
great.
every day. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing your proposal. I think it's a good one.
Sure. Yep. So, hey.
Hear me?
There you go.
Okay. So let's talk money a little bit. This is probably going to be about $250,000 investment. However, we've got a pretty significant fund balance in food services. The past couple of years, the federal reimbursement rate for those meals is higher than what we collect normally. There's no uncollectible accounts with the feds. So we come up with running into that. The challenge is we're only allowed to maintain about $750,000 in that fund balance, and we're up to at least 1.1 to 1.3 depending on the timing of reimbursements. So this is, Elizabeth has put together a spin down plan. We had to submit that to DOE because they monitor that very closely. They want us to spin that down by the end of the year. So this will take a big chunk of that. But she's also identified a few other pieces of equipment that we will purchase sometime during the school year. This one requires a sealed bid process. So we wanted to introduce what was kind of going on behind the scenes and why, and then we'll come back once we are positioned to award that contract.
So, sorry, do we have to have the contract awarded by the end of this year?
No, the end of the school year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And is the spin down requirement only capital improvements, or can you use it on anything?
We can use it on any equipment.
Any approved, spending, basically. Mhm.
That has to do with serving students food.
Program
That's
improvements.
related to.
Could you use it to wipe out overdue balances?
We asked that question. We can't with self-pay students, but we're looking into whether we can use a portion of that for reduced. Because for reduced students, they pay a little bit, they pay a portion of it. So we might be able to cover those balances, but not the self-pay at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
We're hoping to be able to do that as
So would this new machine go, are you still going to have to take the forks through the, or is it going to go in the room that's where closest to where they're dropping their trays off?
So the new machine will go in place of that tray machine. So that will totally be removed, and then the new
Right.
dish machine will be in there. And so the trays will actually stack on, and I think the bowls and plates too, depends how small they are. But this will be the type of unit you can actually put them directly on. But for items like a small, like silverware, the little bus, not in a bus tub, I can't think of what that's called, like the dishwasher rack, the silverware rack for the dishwasher that was, I think, on one of those videos, you would still throw all that on there. So they'd be able to handle it right there, sort that out, and then just throw that rack on to the dishwasher and send it on through. So everything would stay right there in that room.
Okay. So right now, you do have a machine that washes the dishes though, right?
We have in the kitchen, so,
Okay.
but we don't have dishes. We don't
Just
have
making
dishes,
sure.
which is unfortunate. I mean, we don't have the capacity to do that, so we don't use bowls or plates. Everything is disposable right now.
Okay.
And so, in an effort to kind of get away from all that disposable, we have to have a machine that can wash them because we can't do the
Don't know
back and
if I
forth.
can.
Yeah. So,
And the footprint of the new machine, will it fit the footprint of the old, or is there facility modifications required?
it's wider, so it will take up more space, but that's a great space that we have in there. So it's more than
Still-
enough space.
Still
Yep.
enough to accommodate it?
Yes, it is. Yep. And it's energy efficient. It has I opted for all the energy efficient build-ins that it had. It's an Energy Star rated machine as well, so that's good.
We might qualify for some rebates for duty as well by installing this.
The Energy Star rate, yeah, hopefully.
Good project.
Just thinking
Yeah.
about the
Thank you.
trash even that we would save on.
Right.
Yes.
Could you give us a timeline of from the bid process to when it's going to be installed at the high school?
We're shooting for spring break installation right now, so we
Okay.
have to advertise for 2 consecutive weeks back to back for the project. For anyone, it's such a large-scale project that we have to advertise for anyone who would like to bid, submit a bid. So we're projected to, I think, hopefully, maybe November 7th, is that what we said? To have that process done by about November 7th, where we would have all the bids, and then we would be able to, see which bid would be awarded. And then there would be that period of time, then we would wait for the machine to come in and then set for the spring break installation.
Yeah, we should be in a position to come back to the board in November or December to award the contract. That way they can get the equipment delivered and get that on our schedule.
Just remember, if you would for us, because that equipment is so old, that facility there, that week, Murphy is always going to play into the schedule, right? So there's always, your contingent plan is going to be important.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Make sure it's going to take
Yeah.
more than 7 days.
Okay.
I think one other thing to remember, and this is from like when we did some of the HVAC projects, obviously when we have to get it in, it's going to be a delay from when we get it. Who's going to store it, and is that going to be additional cost as well? Because I know when we did HVAC with Webb, the way that it was staggered, we had to have the contractor help us out. So as you think about that, you might consider options of storage.
Make
since
sure
we're
where
gonna
it's
have-
delivered. Make sure they're going to hold it onto
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Make
you.
note of that.
So will that come back next month as an action item then? So we don't need to? Okay, very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is policies first reading.
Yes. Both of these are mine. They're student assessment. We needed to update our policies in accordance with the current state assessments, and so we're no longer doing iStep Plus. We're now at iLearn. We're at the SAT for the state accountability assessment, and we also do administer WIDA Access for our multilingual learners. So these 2 policies just bring us up to speed with the actual assessment that we're doing through the state.
Okay, thank you. And then with that, we will move on to board comments. Do we have any board comments? No. Administrative comments?
I do have one reminder. November 22nd, we've talked about before. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving break. And we've talked about the fact we're going to use that day as a senior project day for our fall senior project students. If you'll remember, right, again, we do the spring students at that April date, prom, the e-learning day in April. So that day, we had asked originally for a virtual day for the high school only. This only impacts the high school. We're going to transition that, if there are no objections, to an e-learning day that day. Many of the seniors will be on site. The teachers really want to participate in the judging of those projects, which is difficult to do if they're also online with students. And so for now, what we would like to do is use an e-learning day that day, just high school, which would be their second. And if inclement weather happens and we need that day and need to adjust, we may adjust the high school on the April date. So I'm giving the board a heads up. Just as a reminder, the state only allows us to have 3 of those asynchronous days. And that's per building. It's not district-wide, it's per building. So just as a reminder. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. President Ott, I think we talked just briefly before the board meeting about the discussion item comments. Do you want to hit that real quickly? 'Cause today would have been a good example of why we would need that with the textbook that comes on and then people not being able to share information.
Yeah, I think at the next meeting, we're going to start doing comments after the discussion item. So when things are first presented, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions before we bring it in the next month for a vote. So that'll give us some time to think about what you have to say, and it gives you time to express your opinions and comments and concerns.
And it will still be pertaining to action items, so the
Right.
discussion, and then, so the community will have 2 opportunities really in discussion to talk about an action item as we
Right.
move forward.
Right. And it's still only on agenda items.
Yes.
We're not talking about anything
Yep.
other than what we're doing business,
Yep.
on our business items, so, yeah. Anything else?
Yes, just Wednesday evening at 6:30, we have our first at My FCS Academy. We are at CBIS. And we're going to talk about the core values of our district, kind of why we exist, going back to our guiding principles and also the strategic plan. And so we're excited to report on that and as we travel through the year. But the first one is October the 19th. And then as Dr. Worland just said, we do have Thanksgiving break coming up. And just a reminder, we are off that Wednesday, and the central office will be closed that day as we travel forward in the calendar. So the end of the semester actually is going to really pick up steam here as things start to wind down. And so I wanted just to highlight both of those.
Okay, very good. And that was the calendar. Do we have anything on the calendar, or was that?
That was it.
That
Yep.
covered it all. Okay, very good. On that, we will adjourn. Thank you all for coming.